imagine you run a business, right? And I tell you
Okay.
that if you make like a single mistake, just one poorly handled transaction, there is a 66% chance that customer will never, ever come back.
Oh, wow. 2/3 of your customer base.
Yeah, just gone in an instant. I mean, that is the terrifying reality for the modern hospitality industry, at least according to the source material we're doing a deep dive on today.
It's a brutal landscape out there for sure.
It really is. And yet, against those stakes, we've completely normalized what is essentially logistical magic.
Right. Yeah. We really take it for granted now.
We do. Like right now, you or I could pull a little glass rectangle out of our pockets,
Yeah.
tap the screen a few times, and in what, 45 minutes?
Less sometimes.
Exactly. A piping hot meal from a restaurant across town or, a week's worth of highly specific groceries just appears on our doorstep.
It really is a modern marvel when you step back and look at it.
We don't even think about the mechanics of it anymore. It's just sort of the default state of living now.
Right. And in less than a decade, on-demand delivery went from being this, a novelty to basically a fundamental public utility.
Yeah.
And obviously that shift was severely accelerated by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Oh, totally.
Because, those delivery apps, they became critical infrastructure overnight. They bridged the gap between a lockdown public and struggling businesses.
Right. They basically kept the lights on for the entire restaurant sector.
Exactly. They were the ultimate defense against complete closure.
And that transition, from luxury to absolute lifeline,
Yeah.
that is exactly the mission of our deep dive today.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to crack open the black box of rider delivery apps. We've got this really comprehensive guide from Enatega.
It's a great source.
Yeah, and it details everything like the underlying business models, the essential tech features, and the absolute biggest mistakes developers make when building these things.
There are a lot of mistakes, too.
Oh, I bet. So whether you are an entrepreneur looking to build one of these digital logistics machines, or maybe you're a rider navigating the gig economy.
Or just a curious customer wondering why your driver took a photo of your front porch.
Right, exactly. We are going to explore exactly how this entire ecosystem functions.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's unpack this. If I own a restaurant or a grocery store, I can't just start teleporting food to people.
Sadly.
No, right. So what is the fundamental, ground floor choice I have to make to enter this matrix?
Well, the ground floor is really a strategic fork in the road.
Okay.
And it essentially boils down to capital versus control. You have to decide, do you want to own the delivery experience or do you want to rent it?
Oh, I see. So building an in-house app versus, hiring a giant third-party platform.
Precisely. Let's look at the third-party delivery services first, since those are the ones most people are familiar with, right? Like Postmates, Uber Eats, Instacart.
Right, the big ones.
Yeah. In this model, the logistics are entirely outsourced. So as a restaurant owner, your kitchen makes the food, you hand the bag over to a driver you don't even employ, and the third party just handles everything else. The routing, the payment, the customer service.
Which sounds incredibly convenient, honestly.
It is incredibly convenient, but that convenience comes at a steep cost.
How steep are we talking?
Well, commission fees can eat up to 30% of a restaurant's profit margin on a single order.
Wait, 30%? That is astronomical.
It really is.
Especially in an industry that traditionally operates on razor-thin margins to begin with.
Exactly.
But I imagine the bigger hidden cost is the data, right?
Yeah.
Like if I use a third-party app, I don't actually know who my customer is.
Nope, you don't.
I don't get their email address. I'm just kind of a vendor in the third-party app's digital mall.
You nailed it. That is the crucial trade-off right there. The customer's loyalty ends up tied to the delivery platform, not your restaurant.
Wow.
Because if the delivery goes well, they praise the app.
Yeah.
But if it goes poorly, they blame your restaurant.
That is so unfair, but yeah, it makes total sense.
Now contrast that with the other side of the fork, right? Building a dedicated rider delivery app.
The in-house option.
Right. This is where a business maintains high control over the logistics. The business interacts directly with the riders, they manage the fleet, and most importantly, they control the user interface the customer actually interacts with.
And I'm guessing they aren't paying 30% fees.
Exactly. They pay lower fees per delivery because they aren't subsidizing a massive Silicon Valley tech company.
Right. I mean, I see the appeal in retaining those margins and the customer data. It's kind of like throwing a party.
How so?
Well, using a dedicated rider app is like hiring your own in-house catering staff. Like you have to interview them, manage them, tell them exactly when to bring out the appetizers.
Right.
But you completely control the vibe of the event.
Hmm?
Outsourcing to a third party, though, is like just inviting all your friends to a massive food court.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
Right. It's way less work for you, but you have zero control. If the food court is overcrowded or the tables are dirty, your guests just have a terrible time, and there's nothing you can do about it.
That captures the dynamic perfectly. The food court scenario just introduces so many uncontrollable variables.
But let me push back on this a little bit.
Sure.
Because running a logistics network sounds like an absolute nightmare for a small
It
business.
can be daunting, yeah.
Like, if I own a bustling independent burger joint, my expertise is searing meat and melting cheese, right?
Right. You're a chef, not a tech CEO.
Exactly. Why on earth would I take on the headache of managing software updates, routing algorithms, and a fleet of drivers when I just bite the bullet, pay the 30%, and focus on making burgers?
Well, what's fascinating here is that the decision ultimately hinges on the physics of the food itself.
The physics.
Yeah, it comes down to delivery speed. See, when you outsource to a giant third-party platform, their algorithm's primary goal is their own efficiency, not your food's temperature. So that algorithm might instruct a driver to pick up your customer's burger, then drive to a sushi place 3 blocks away, then to a pharmacy, before finally dropping off the burger.
Oh, no. The dreaded cold fries phenomenon.
Exactly.
So the algorithm is just batching orders to save the platform money on driver payouts.
Right. And so the speed of delivery becomes entirely unpredictable based on the network's volume at that exact minute.
That is risky.
Very. But with a dedicated riderapp, the logistics are tailored to your kitchen's output. There are fewer stops. The interaction is direct.
So the algorithm is prioritizing my customer.
Yes. When that food arrives fast and hot, the customer associates that premium experience directly with your brand. You are building long-term equity.
Wow. Okay. So we understand the ruthless business logic of why a company might choose to build its own app.
Mm-hmm.
But let's look at the psychology of the people actually using the software.
Yeah.
Because the Enatega guide lays out some very specific benefits keeping both businesses and drivers hooked on these platforms.
They do, yeah.
I want to circle back to that terrifying statistic I mentioned at the top.
The 66%.
Yeah, that 66% of consumers will just terminate their relationship with the company due to poor customer service.
It's a huge number.
How does a piece of software actually act as a safeguard against human impatience? Like, how does it fix that?
Well, it acts as a safeguard by providing constant real-time transparency.
Okay.
You see, anxiety in delivery doesn't really come from the wait itself. It comes from the unknown.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right. If a restaurant simply says, your food will arrive in 45 minutes, the customer just starts getting anxious at minute 30.
Staring at the clock, wondering if they forget.
Exactly. But if the app provides a live map, GPS tracking of the driver's vehicle, and a dynamic ETA that updates based on real-time traffic data, the anxiety just evaporates.
Because they can see it happening.
Right. The customer feels a sense of control. Additionally, these apps build trust through very visible security measures.
Like?
Well, when the customer can see the driver's name, their photo, and background check verification right on the screen, it removes the friction of having a stranger approach their home.
Ah, I see. So for the business, the app is essentially an anxiety reduction engine to keep that 66% from abandoning ship.
That's a great way to phrase it, yeah.
Now, what about the riders? Because the drivers are the actual lifeblood of this entire operation.
Without them, it's just code.
Exactly. And the source guide suggests the appeal for riders is built around autonomy, safety, and growth opportunities. Like, cashless payments mean they aren't driving around with a target on their backs, carrying a bunch of 20s.
Right. Huge safety upgrade.
And flexible scheduling allows them to toggle their status online or offline whenever they want.
And that flexibility is deeply empowering, especially for a workforce that might be balancing childcare, college classes, or maybe a second job.
Yeah.
They aren't tied to a rigid shift.
I hear that, but I have to challenge the idea of autonomy in these systems, specifically regarding the rating mechanics. Okay, let's get into it.
Because the source details how riders are rated 1 to 5 stars by customers, and high ratings unlock company rewards, right? Like free rides or gift hampers.
Yeah, that's standard across a lot of platforms.
It feels incredibly dystopian to me.
That's awesome.
It gamifies their stress. Good behavior unlocks loot. Does a system of constant surveillance, where every single interaction is aggressively quantified by hungry, impatient people, actually empower a driver?
It's a fair question.
I mean, a 4-star rating, which in normal life is like a solid B grade, can actually result in algorithmic punishment, like getting fewer delivery pings.
You are hitting on a major tension within the gig economy right now. The surveillance is heavy, and the psychological toll of maintaining a perfect rating is very real.
Right.
The algorithm can be an unforgiving boss, for
Yeah.
sure. However, if we look closely at the architectural features outlined in the guide, there are specific mechanisms designed to give leverage back to the rider.
Okay, like what?
The most crucial one is the order acceptance feature. Let's break down the mechanics of that. How does it balance the scales?
Well, when an order is generated, the app doesn't just blindly force the driver to take it. The UI presents the driver with a snapshot.
Like a preview.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It shows the proximity to the restaurant, the estimated distance to the customer, and the projected payout.
Oh, I see.
And the driver can actively choose to accept or reject that contract in real time.
So they have veto power.
They do. By allowing riders to reject orders that would take them into, say, heady traffic zones or just far away from their preferred neighborhoods, the technology saves them gasoline, wear and tear on their vehicle, and unpaid time driving back to a busy area.
I suppose that is a genuine layer of control.
It is.
But doesn't the algorithm quietly penalize drivers who reject too many orders? Like, by lowering their priority in the queue?
Well,
Because it feels like the app offers them a choice, but it holds a stick behind its back.
in many third-party systems, yes, acceptance rates absolutely are weaponized. But in a customized in-house rider app, which is what this guide is primarily outlining, the business can calibrate that algorithm.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
Right. A smart business owner won't penalize a driver for rejecting a bad route because forcing a driver to take an inefficient route just leads to driver churn.
They just quit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And replacing a vetted driver is far more expensive than letting an order wait 2 more minutes for a closer vehicle.
That makes a lot of sense.
Hmm.
The business logic essentially dictates the algorithmic fairness.
Precisely.
Let's look under the hood a bit more at how these features actually talk to each other to prevent chaos. Because an app isn't just a digital menu, right? It's like a massive air traffic control system.
It really is. And the underlying features are basically a masterclass in anticipating and mitigating human error.
Like route optimization.
Yes, take route optimization. It isn't just a simple GPS map. The app's backend is constantly pinging local traffic APIs. It's factoring in road closures and synchronizing the driver's arrival at the restaurant with the exact minute the kitchen finishes bagging the food. Wow.
The algorithm does all that heavy lifting so the driver doesn't have to be a local geography expert or, guess when the food will be ready.
And the source mentions proof of delivery, which is a fascinating mechanism for dispute resolution.
It is so crucial.
The driver takes a photo of the food on the porch. That seems so simple, but mathematically it must save companies millions of dollars.
Oh, without a doubt.
It protects the driver from a customer falsely claiming they never got their meal, and it gives the customer visual confirmation.
It creates an immutable digital record of the final transaction. It's brilliant. There's also a rider customer chat feature, which really reduces misunderstandings around complex drop-offs, like, apartment complexes with hidden entrances.
Oh, those are the worst.
Yeah. But perhaps the most technically impressive feature is automatic address translation.
Right, I wanted to ask about this. How vital is that, really? I mean, doesn't the GPS just show a dot on a map?
A dot on a map doesn't help you find a specific unit number in a massive, sprawling residential complex.
Good point. If a driver speaks a different language than the customer, or if they are navigating diverse neighborhoods with localized, complex street naming conventions,
Yeah.
the app actually automatically translates the address and the drop-off instructions into the driver's preferred language natively within the UI.
That is incredible.
It removes a massive friction point in the final mile, which is historically the most expensive and error-prone part of any delivery.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me. The Enatega guide doesn't just list what these features are. It provides a blueprint for how a company actually builds them.
Yes, the 8-step process.
Right. They outline an 8-step process. And I won't bore everyone with the standard stuff. Like, obviously, you have to research competitors, decide on a revenue model, and pick your features.
Standard Business 101.
Exactly. But I want to zero in on step 4, which is selecting the tech stack.
Oh, this is so important.
The source gives a very strict, explicit warning. It says, and I quote, "Never use technologies you have no or little experience with."
It is a phenomenal piece of advice that so many tech startups just completely ignore.
It seems like common sense, but I imagine the temptation to use the newest, shiniest code is pretty overwhelming.
Oh, developers love new toys.
To me, ignoring this warning is like trying to build a high-performance Formula One race car, but instead of using the steel and carbon fiber you've mastered, you decide to cast the engine block out of some experimental alloy you read about on a blog that morning.
That is exactly what it's like.
You don't experiment with a fundamental foundation while you are actively trying to win a race.
Your race car analogy is spot on. To demystify the jargon for a second, a tech stack is simply the combination of software products and programming languages used to create the application.
Okay.
You have the front end, which is the visual interface the customer taps on their screen, so the paint, the leather seats, the steering wheel.
Right.
And you have the back end, which is the hidden databases and servers routing the information. The engine, the transmission, the fuel lines.
So if a developer chooses a brand new back-end coding language, they aren't fluent in just because it's trendy.
Which happens a lot.
They're essentially installing an engine they don't know how to repair
Yeah.
when it inevitably breaks down mid-race.
Exactly. And that leads directly into the critical phase of quality assurance or QA testing.
Right.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, a flawlessly designed front-end menu means absolutely nothing if the back-end database drops the connection during the payment gateway.
Oh, that's the worst.
The QA process has to simulate extreme stress. Like, what happens when 500 people in the same zip code try to order pizza at the exact moment the Super Bowl goes to halftime?
Complete system meltdown.
Do the APIs crash? Does the digital wallet integration double charge people?
Yeah.
QA is about ensuring the journey, registering, browsing, paying, and tracking is completely frictionless under heavy cognitive and network load.
Because if there is friction, we fall right back to that 66% churn rate.
Exactly.
The user will simply delete your app and download your competitors.
Yeah, in seconds.
So we've seen the blueprint, and we understand the mechanics of the foundation. Now, let's look at the actual buildings on the skyline.
The major players.
Right. The guide breaks down some of the major titans of the market and the critical structural errors that cause new apps to just completely collapse into the graveyard.
Looking at the major players provides a great lens on how different tech stacks and business models impact the real world.
Right.
Take Amazon Flex, for example. They approach logistics a bit differently. The primary pro is that drivers can claim predictable, hourly blocks of time.
So they aren't just sitting in a parking lot waiting for a random ping.
Exactly. The con, however, is that despite the predictability, there is no long-term job security or benefits.
Classic gig economy issue.
Yeah. Then you have the absolute giant, Uber, and specifically Uber Eats.
Oh, yeah.
Their routing algorithm is arguably the most sophisticated in the world. The pro is incredible flexibility and a massive variety of merchants.
But the downside for the gig worker is the wear and tear, right?
Huge downside. If you are using your own car, the depreciation, gas, and insurance are solely your burden.
And from the customer side, their dynamic algorithm utilizes peak pricing,
Oh, yes.
which frustrates users when a standard burrito suddenly costs $25 because it's raining outside.
The guide also touches on DHL Express, which excels in complex international tracking.
Well, probably not great for food.
Right, it's limited by high expense and strict parcel limits, making it basically unviable for local food delivery.
Makes sense.
And then there is foodpanda, which is a massive player globally. foodpanda is really praised for its highly optimized navigation interface.
Okay.
But the cons highlight a darker socioeconomic reality. Lower income riders on that platform often rely heavily on customer tips and volume bonuses just to cobble together a living wage.
Which means they are forced to work during the most brutal, high-traffic peak hours just to survive.
It's a grueling gig, and the tech can only mask the physical reality of traffic for so long.
The source also briefly shouts out Enatega, the authors of our guide, who offer fully customizable white-label solutions for businesses wanting that in-house control, alongside Grubhub and Postmates, who play with unique subscription models.
Yeah.
But I want to spend our remaining time in the graveyard.
Oh, the mistakes. Let's go.
The source details the massive mistakes developers make that ruin these apps before they even get off the ground.
The most fatal mistake, hands down, is ignoring real-world scenarios during testing.
How does that happen?
Well, developers often build and test these apps in a sterile, controlled environment. They sit in an office with gigabit Wi-Fi on a sunny day, and the app works perfectly.
Of course it does.
But they fail to test how the back end handles a timeout when a driver hits a cell phone dead zone inside a concrete elevator.
Oh, wow. Let's walk through the mechanics of that failure. If the driver is in an elevator with no service, they can't swipe delivered.
Right.
The app's back end is pinging the phone for GPS coordinates, getting no response, and might assume the driver's phone died.
Exactly. The algorithm might then trigger an alert, throw off the dispatch timing for the driver's next batched order, and send a confusing notification to the customer.
All because of an elevator.
Right. Digital code, no matter how elegant it looks on a monitor, must be resilient enough to survive the messy, unpredictable physical world of rainstorms, bad traffic, and dropped signals.
The source also mentions a failure to build safety into the interface,
Hmm.
like forgetting an emergency panic button for riders,
Which is a huge oversight.
and a failure to adequately verify driver backgrounds, which instantaneously destroys customer trust.
It really does.
But the mistake that fascinates me the most is feature bloat.
Oh, feature bloat. This raises an important question about how developers balance innovation with usability. Feature bloat is basically a psychological trap for developers.
So.
They confuse innovation with complexity. They think adding more buttons, more filters, and more animations equates to providing more value to the user.
I see this constantly. Returning to my race car analogy, feature bloat is like taking an incredibly fast, perfectly tuned race car and deciding that to make it better, you should install heated massage chairs, a minibar in the back, and a surround sound entertainment system.
Exactly.
Sure, those are nice features in a luxury sedan, but you've just added 1,000 pounds to a vehicle whose only job is to go fast.
Right.
The end user, whether it's a hungry customer or a driver navigating 4 lanes of traffic, is operating under a heavy cognitive load. They don't want a minibar, they just want to get to the finish line.
And every additional feature you add requires more API calls to the server, which slows down the app's load time.
Oh.
It clutters the screen, which makes it harder for a driver to quickly glance at the map. The discipline of a great tech stack isn't knowing what to add, it's knowing what to strip away, so the core utility moving an item from point A to point B remains absolutely frictionless.
So what does this all mean? We've gone on quite a journey through the digital logistics matrix today.
We really have.
We explored the high-stakes fork in the road between renting a fleet on a third-party app and owning the customer experience with an in-house build.
Yep.
We looked at the delicate, high-wire act of keeping that 66% of impatient customers perfectly happy with real-time ETA tracking, while simultaneously ensuring that drivers have the mechanical leverage to accept or reject routes that don't make financial sense for them.
We also unpacked the intricate technical features, like the automatic address translation, bridging language gaps, and the photographic proof of delivery resolving disputes.
Super important stuff.
And we dissected the exact architectural pitfalls that cause new apps to collapse, from failing to test in dead zones to weighing down the interface with feature bloat.
It really is a marvel. Whether you're an entrepreneur looking to navigate the tech stack choices for your own in-house system, a gig worker trying to understand the algorithms governing your dispatch, or just a hungry person sitting on your couch wondering how that hot pizza actually materialized on your porch. You now understand the invisible, complex infrastructure firing the very second you hit order.
It is a brilliantly engineered system, but I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over looking toward the horizon of this technology.
Okay, what's that?
Well, the source material shows us an industry that is currently hyper-obsessed with shaving minutes off delivery times, optimizing routes mathematically, and tracking every single geographic step.
Yeah.
But as these back-end algorithms get increasingly sophisticated at analyzing our purchasing data, our habits, and our routines, we have to wonder what happens when delivery becomes practically instantaneous.
Instantaneous.
Yeah. What happens when these platforms evolve from just delivering what we want to delivering what we want before we even consciously realize we want it?
Oh, wow.
If predictive logistics reach a point where the app already knows you need groceries on a Tuesday afternoon and dispatches them before you even open the screen, how will that change the very nature of human agency, how you shop, and how you interact with the physical world?
That is a staggering thought. I mean, right now the magic requires us to tap the glass rectangle. But the next phase of the magic might be that we don't have to tap at all.
The black box just knows.
Something to think about the next time a meal magically appears on your porch.